The worst part wasn't the deformities. It was how badly they wanted us to stay. Not aggressively at first, not violently. They just kept smiling at us, like we were already part of the family. And by the time I realized we were in danger, it was already dark. This happened 3 years ago, when my wife and I were driving through Texas to visit relatives near Amarillo. We'd been on the road most of the day, and around sunset, I made a stupid mistake. I took a back road shortcut. At first, it seemed fine. Empty road, flat land, no traffic. But after about 30 minutes, the GPS completely lost signal. Then the road turned to dirt. Then our car died. Just dead. No warning, no strange noises. The engine just stopped in the middle of nowhere. I remember stepping outside and immediately noticing how silent everything was. No wind, no insects, nothing. Just miles of dark trees and fading sunlight. My wife wanted to stay with the car, but there was no signal, and we hadn't passed a single vehicle in almost an hour. So we grabbed flashlights and started hiking down the road, hoping to find help. After maybe 40 minutes, we saw smoke through the trees. At first, I felt relieved. Then we got closer and realized it wasn't a house. It was a campsite. Several old tents arranged in a circle deep in the woods. There were people sitting around a fire. A family. At least, I think they were a family. And something about them looked wrong. One of the men had a twisted jaw hanging slightly sideways. An older woman's eyes pointed in completely different directions. A younger girl walked with this strange limp, like one leg was shorter than the other. I know that sounds cruel to describe, but in the dark, standing in the middle of those woods, the sight of them genuinely terrified me. Still, they acted friendly immediately. Too friendly. The older man smiled and invited us to sit near the fire. He kept calling us travelers, over and over. Travelers always end up here eventually. My wife squeezed my hand so tightly I could feel her shaking. I asked if there was a town nearby or if we could use a phone. The family all went quiet. Then the older woman smiled and said, "You won't need to leave tonight." Something about the way she said it made my stomach drop. We stayed near the fire for maybe 20 minutes, pretending to be calm while trying to figure out how to leave politely. That's when I noticed something hanging from one of the trees nearby. Photographs. Old photographs. Dozens of them. And every single picture showed strangers standing with the family around that same fire. Different people, different years, but always smiling, like family portraits. I remember whispering to my wife, "We need to go, right now." The second we stood up, the little girl near the fire started crying. Not normal crying, sobbing hysterically. And the older woman looked at us and said, "Please don't leave her again." Again. That word hit me hard, like they'd done this before. The older man stood up slowly and smiled wider. Then he said something I still hear in my head sometimes. Most travelers stay after the first night. At that point, I grabbed my wife's hand and started backing away, and the entire family stood up with us, still smiling. Nobody looked angry. That somehow made it worse. The older woman kept saying, "You'll get used to it here." Then the man with the twisted jaw started walking toward us holding a flashlight. Not fast, slowly, like he already knew we couldn't escape. We turned and ran into the woods immediately. I could hear them behind us shouting things through the trees. Not threats, invitations. "Come back! You belong here! Don't leave your family!" That terrified me more than screaming would have. At one point, I looked back and saw flashlights moving between the trees behind us, at least 5 or 6 of them, still following. My wife twisted her ankle while we were running, and for a second I genuinely thought we weren't getting out of there. Then, somehow, we found the dirt road again, and by pure luck, a truck was driving down it. I practically threw myself in front of it, waving my flashlight. The driver let us in immediately after seeing how panicked we were, and when we looked back toward the woods, the flashlights were gone. Just darkness. The next morning, we returned with local police to where the campsite should have been. There was nothing there. No tents, no fire pit, no people. Just empty forest. But before we left, one of the officers found something nailed to a tree deep in the woods. An old photograph, faded and dirty. It showed the family standing around the fire, smiling at the camera. And standing beside them was me and my wife.